What's up, Peach Giant fans? Uh, I want to, excuse me. I want to make an announcement first before I talk about, what I got to talk about. First, I want to address some of the comments that I've been getting. Um, First off, this is a public platform, okay? Being that it's a public platform, people are entitled to say what they want, you know, just like I'm entitled to say what I want. If we don't agree, we agree to disagree. We'll have a conversation, a dialogue. I have no problem with that. But then we move on. You know what I mean? The problem that I have is, excuse me, when people that don't agree with you want to get how should I say, want to get ignorant and come out of character because you make a statement that they don't agree with. I've never said I played football. I said I've watched the game. I've watched college football. I've been watching it for years. I've been watching the New York Giants for years. And therefore I know a little bit about football. That's why I make the comment I make. That's why I make the statements I make. I'm a basketball player. I've played high school ball. I've played college ball. I've played intramural leagues. I've done that. I do not know what it takes physically to be a football player. I know what it takes to be a basketball player. And the backlash that I get from the comments that I make is really ridiculous. About a month ago, I had a gentleman that responded to my post, and we had a cordial dialogue, back and forth. He was sending me emails and comments at like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? And I responded back to him, and we was going back and forth and back and forth. And at the end, he understood where I was coming from, and I understood where he was coming from. That's the purpose of this. The purpose is not to be insulting. The purpose is not to be disrespectful, because at the end of the day, I'm a grown man and I don't come on here and disrespect anybody. All I ask is that if you view my channel, you like and subscribe and comment, but make your comments respectable. You understand? Because I'm going to always respect you. So the least you can do is respect me. Now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about where I'm from and taking it to the streets and all of that, because this is an open forum. There's no place for that, I feel. But some of y'all, and y'all know who y'all are, y'all are getting a little bit carried away and a little bit overly disrespectful with this stuff, man. You know what I mean? Me, I'm going to keep putting out content because I enjoy this. I don't have to do this. I enjoy this. You know what I mean? I like talking to people. I like corresponding with people. I like hitting people up and they respond back to me, or I leave content and they respond to it. I enjoy that. I don't have to do this. And I don't have to subject myself to some silly people and they ridiculing nonsense and stupidity. It's not called for. It's not called for. And I'm not going to put up with it. The only thing I'm going to say is, if you're that bad with yours, leave your name and your number. Don't hide behind a screen, and I'll call you back and we could talk about it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Now, on a lighter note, I want to talk about the Giants win yesterday. because that's where a lot of some of the things that were said was pertaining to the Giants winning and beating the Indianapolis Colts. The Giants, people have to understand, number one, you play the game to win. Okay? I'm tired of people sitting here talking about, oh, the Giants lost the number one pick. What are they doing? Look, they play the game to win. I don't care if you're in high school. I don't care if you're in college. And I definitely don't care if you're in the pros, because I'm sure no coach sits there and tells you, yo, don't give it your all tonight. Don't worry about that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you shoot the shot, but go 0 for 8 because we need this draft pick. Come on, man. Are you serious? Professional athletes get paid. They get paid. They have that name on the back of that jersey, and they get paid to perform. Period. Their job is to win. No matter what the timing is, what it might cost them, that is what they get paid to do. Stop walking around crying and complaining because the Giants won a game and you feel it's going to cost them Shedeur or Cam Ward. Stop it. Shedeur or Cam Ward, are either one of them, I think, are decent quarterbacks, but neither one of them are needle movers to the point where they're going to come in from day one and start ripping up for the New York Giants. It's not going to happen. The Giants have a lot of holes, bro. They got holes that they need to fill. This win, in my opinion, was a blessing in disguise. Because now the Giants can trade back. They could take the best player available, not being forced to draft a quarterback. They could take BPA and they could take a quarterback later on. Simple. Simple. If you want to trade, let's just say Cam and Shedeur go in the top 4, go in the top 3, let's just say. Okay, let's just say it's Travis Hunter, Shedeur, and then Cam Ward. Or the Vegas Raiders trade up ahead of the Giants and they take Shedeur. Then if I'm the Giants, I trade back to maybe the Jets. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to go too far back to where they could still draft an offensive lineman or a wide receiver like a Tatoria McMillan or a Kelvin Banks. And then you take Mason Graham. Mason Graham fills a need. He'll be a day one starter that you could plug in right away. And guess what? Mason Graham plays the run. We were horrible against the run. He is going to plug up that middle. So now Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden and another linebacker, if the Giants draft one, hopefully for depth, they can now roam and make tackles. That's what Mason Graham is going to do. It's not just going to be Dex having to play the run. Mason Graham is going to play the run. And then you either trade back up into the first round late with like a Kansas City or a Detroit, or you sit at your pick and you take Jalen Milroe. I've watched a lot of college football. Okay. I've watched a lot of college football throughout the years, and I haven't seen a quarterback run like Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is a special dude when he got the ball in his hands. When he decides to run, look out. Now, is he raw? Of course. Yes, he is. Of course. But he has traits that you cannot teach. You can't teach. You can't teach running the ball like a running back the way he does. You can't teach running the ball with speed and power like he does. Like I said, is he a raw prospect? Absolutely. Does he have question marks? Absolutely. But you're already talking about bringing in a bridge quarterback. So what's the problem? Why are we acting like the sky is falling in because the Giants won a game, they lost the number 1 pick, and they can't get Shedeur or Cam unless somebody drops the ball? It's like, oh my God, what are the Giants doing? Oh my God. What are you talking about? These are professional athletes. You think they get paid to tank a game? Now, if you want to sit there and say, okay, Salah, guess what? The Giants didn't play like this all season. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And that needs to be addressed. But they did show up this week. And this was a glimmer of what the team can be with a competent quarterback. Competent meaning a veteran quarterback, not necessarily Drew Lock, but a veteran quarterback who has a little bit of juice left, and you could let Jalen Milroe sit. You could let Jalen Milroe watch. You could let Jalen Milroe learn. Because I'm going to tell you, I like Cam Ward. I love Cam Ward. I do. I love Cam Ward. I love Shedeur. I think they're both good quarterbacks. But I think ceiling wise, because of his running ability, Jalen Milroe has a higher ceiling. Now, you could also probably say, he has a bigger bust potential also. That's true. That's true with anybody. There's not a guarantee that Cam Ward is going to come in and tear it up. There's not a guarantee that Shedeur is going to come in and tear it up. The knock on Shedeur is that he holds on to the ball too long. The knock on Cam Ward is that he plays hero ball and always tries to make the big play. So it's not like these quarterbacks don't have flaws. I remember at the beginning of the season, Carson Beck was the number 1 quarterback entering the college football season. He was the number 1 rated quarterback. Now they have Carson Beck going 4th, maybe even 5th. Carson Beck is out there. I don't think the sky is falling because the Giants are at 4. There's still some things they can do. There's still some things that they can address. And there's still some things that they can do to help that team win games. And Mason Graham, trading back, getting a couple of extra picks, maybe, you don't want to trade back to like the Dolphins or something like that. Because that's too far. I don't think Mason Graham is going to go that far. I don't think he's going to last that long, rather. I think he'll still be there around the Jets pick because the Jets got Quinnen Williams. Now the Jets could also say, we going to put Mason Graham next to Quinnen Williams. They could say that instead of Solomon Thomas and all those other guys. Possible. But that's where, as a GM, you got to make a phone call and be like, what do you plan on doing if we trade this pick to you? Because we have our eyes on a specific player we want to make sure that specific player is going to be there. So if we make this trade, what do you plan on doing with it? That's on the GM. But, hearing people talk about, oh, the Giants made a mistake. Look, the Giants get paid to win games. It's unfortunate that, maybe they won one of the last 2 games of the season. But what are y'all going to say if the Eagles rest their starters and they beat the Eagles? Now they go to 8 or 9. Oh, y'all really want to kill yourselves then. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, this team, I believe they'll be a competitive team in 2026. I thought they were going to win about 9 games. They didn't. But I said 9 games, the ceiling is 11. They didn't. But if you look at their record and you look at how many games they lost by 1 score or less, that's like 7 or 8 games, bro. You win them 7 games, that's 10 right there. That's what they did in 2022. They won close games. They won 1-score games. They didn't do that this season. With all of the injuries, with all of the inferior play, with all of the question marks, they still were in games, as bad as they looked. And I think this was Brian Daboll showing, look, this is what can happen if I get a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes. And all you people that were walking around talking about Brian Daboll needs to be fired, Joe Schoen needs to be fired, ask yourself this one question. Was y'all saying the same thing 2 years ago when the Giants went to the playoffs? No, you weren't. Not a single person out there was talking about Joe Schoen needs to be fired and Brian Daboll needs to be fired. Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year 2 years ago. How many of y'all was sitting there beating on your chest talking about, oh, you got to fire Joe Schoen, you got to fire Brian Daboll? Yo, y'all niggas ain't got no loyalty, man. None. That's not what being a New Yorker is, man. Being a New Yorker is ride or die. We with you when you win. We support you and we with you when you lose. Y'all are the same cats that walk around and talk about y'all are Knicks fans in the 90s, but then when the Brooklyn Nets came to Brooklyn from New Jersey, y'all were all of a sudden new Brooklyn Net fans and y'all wasn't Knicks fans. And now that the Knicks is rocking, y'all want to go back to the Knicks. You know what I mean? That's what fans y'all are. Y'all ain't real fans, bro. Real fans ride for their team, man. Real fans support their team. I was there when the Giants played the Colts, supporting them. I ain't going to Philly because I hate Philly. So I ain't going to the Link. I already went to the Link and I had a bad experience there. But I ain't going back. But, I was there when they played Indy. And if you could see those players being happy, being energetic, being energized because they won a game. And yeah, it's only one game. It don't change nothing. It's not like, oh, they're going to the playoffs now. No. But if you saw their attitude along the sideline, Brian Daboll was pumped, energetic. It wasn't him throwing his hands up saying, oh my God, they threw another interception. Oh my God, they had another sack. I mean, everything clicked. Everything clicked. For that one game, everything clicked. And this by far was their best game of all. They might have beat Seattle in, I don't know, what was it, week 5 or something like that. But this was their best game. This was their best game all around. No interceptions by Drew Lock. Tyrone Tracy ran the ball decently. Malik Neighbors had a hell of a game. The offensive line pass protected. And then when it broke down, Lock was able to get out and make plays. I mean, and guys caught the ball. Malik Neighbors, I think, only had 1 drop. Darius Slayton had another drop, but we expect that. But I mean, come on. I was just appalled to hear people say this morning that the Giants should have tanked. They ruined their future. Really? Well, I'll tell you what. If that's how you feel, then jump off the bandwagon and find yourself a new squad. Because I'm here to stay. I'm here to ride for my boys. I'm here to support mine. Win, lose, or draw. That doesn't mean that the Giants do things that I don't agree with. Doesn't mean that at all. That just means I support my team and I'm not throwing them under the bus. I had people today on Twitter arguing with me about Deonte Banks and Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau. Okay. If anybody watched college football, when Evan Neal was coming out of Alabama, they called him one of the best prospects in a long time. That's why the Giants took him, number 7. Kayvon Thibodeau, with all of his pass rushing moves, was at one point, they were flip-flopping between him and Aiden Hutchinson. And some people were going with Thibodeau because they said Aiden Hutchinson was raw. He had a bigger motor than Kayvon, but Kayvon was seasoned. He had the moves. They were calling Kayvon to possibly be a number 2 pick. I had people arguing with me about that. Then I had people arguing about Deonte Banks. Deonte Banks tested off the charts at the combine. Off the charts. And he didn't have attitude problems, because I had one dude arguing with me about, the Giants should have took Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Jr. had attitude problems. And that's why the Giants didn't take him. They moved up and took Deonte Banks because they saw the raw talent that he has. And they figured if we get a defensive coordinator that can coach him up, he'll be a prime time player. Let's not forget, NFL rankings for Deonte Banks had him at a 6.33, which is an above average starter. Above average. Now, I'm not saying Deonte Banks is all world. I'm not saying he's Patrick Surtain II. I'm not saying he's Jair Alexander. But I think Deonte Banks has a skill set. And I think he has a skill set that needs to be tapped into. I think you need an aggressive defensive coordinator that can hone in on what Deonte Banks does best, which is play physical, man-to-man, bump and run coverage. He is not a zone corner. He's not. He's not. So, what do the Giants do at number 4? Interesting question. I already stated what they should do, what I think they should do, because we have a lot of holes to fill, bro. And quarterback isn't going to solve them. It's not going to solve them. We are not going to draft Shedeur Sanders and all of a sudden be a playoff team. We are not going to draft Cam Ward and all of a sudden be a playoff team. We are not going to draft Jalen Milroe and all of a sudden be a playoff team. We have to build a team around that young man, whichever quarterback it is, for them to be successful. I was working mock drafts when the Giants had the number 1 pick where we traded out. We traded the second pick. We got the second pick from the Patriots. Then we traded with the Jags so nobody could leapfrog us. We traded with the Jags at number 3. Then
duration 2 hours 30 minutes. 733 calories. Heart rate 149.
Then I believe it was the Titans that we traded with. And then we picked Cam Ward, but we was able to rack up some 3rd round picks and some 4th round picks, which is what we need. We need to build up that team. We need to build up the trenches. We need to build up the interior of that line. We need to get a swing tackle. We need to get a veteran tackle. And we also got to build up that D-line. We also got to get a D tackle to run with Dex. We also, depending on what Azeez Ojulari does, get a backup edge rusher and an understudy. And we also need a linebacker. We also need a safety. We also need a corner. We also need a wide receiver. And we also need a running back. And maybe you can argue we need a tight end too. We got a lot of holes, brother. A lot of holes. And a quarterback isn't going to solve it. So it's not the end of the world because we're not taking a quarterback right now. It's not the end of the world. Relax. I told one guy, he was like, oh, Joe Schoen needs to be fired. I said, okay, the same Joe Schoen that fixed David Gettleman's salary cap issues along with Kevin Abrams and Brandon Brown and opened up roughly $55 to $60 million in free agency coming for this season. The same Joe Schoen that cleared $190-something million in salary cap for 2026. The same Joe Schoen. Come on, man. Y'all are silly. Y'all are silly. Y'all are silly. Y'all are like Chicken Little when their little nursery rhyme, Chicken Little, the sky is falling in. You know, stop looking at the sky falling in and look at the positives. The positives is that Malik Neighbors broke out with suspect quarterback play. Suspect quarterback play at best. And he still had a breakout year. Tyrone Tracy had a decent year. Andrew Phillips, who I said was going to be a good player. A lot of people knocked Andrew Phillips. Oh my God. They used a 3rd round pick on Andrew Phillips. He's going to be better. Tyler Nubin is going to be better. Deonte Banks is only going to get better because he has the skills to get better. I'm not saying Deonte Banks is a core or CB1. I think they need to bring in a veteran corner, and I think they also need to draft a corner. And they need to tell Deonte Banks, you want this CB1 job? Work for it. Put that work in. Develop your ball skills. Play the ball. Learn to play the ball. Get some tips and deflections and interceptions. Learn to learn the craft of the position of corner. The problem is, I think the Giants ingratiated a lot of these top picks into starters. Oh, well, we drafted Evan Neal, number 7 overall, so we got to play him at right tackle. We drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, number 5. We got to play him at edge. We drafted Deonte Banks at 28, 26. We got to play him at CB1. No, you let these guys go out and earn it, bro. That's the only way they're going to get better. They got to earn it. They're not going to get better by you giving it to them. Now, if it turns out they're the best player, smooth, I'm with it. But I think we can do better. And I think that if we trade back and get extra picks and take Jalen Milroe in the second round or trade back up into the late of the first so we could still keep that fifth-year option on him, I think that'd be the best move. Or a Carson Beck. You know, a lot of people are giving up on Carson Beck. Let me tell you something. Carson Beck knows how to play football, bro. He was a consensus #1 quarterback at the start of the season. It's not like all of a sudden he forgot to play football. He just made some bad decisions and his turnovers went up. It happens. It happens. Carson Beck is 6'4", 220 pounds. He can make all the throws. He can run when he has to. You know what I mean? Come on. But I'm telling you, watch out for Jalen Milroe, man. Jalen Milroe is raw, but if Brian Daboll is the quarterback whisperer that you think he is, that you brought him in to be, Jalen Milroe could turn out to be the steal of that draft, man. The steal of that draft. Could you imagine running a RPO game with Jalen Milroe and Tyrone Tracy? And if you draft another running back, say they draft Ollie Gordon or Taj Brooks or Khalil Mullins from Michigan, that RPO game is going to be sick. Sick. Because Milroe could turn a first down run, a 3rd and 3 into a 20, 30, 40-yard game, maybe even a touchdown. Because he's faster than defensive linemen, he's faster than linebackers, and he's faster than some DBs. He's definitely stronger. Jalen Milroe is 225, 230 pounds. So, I mean, don't look at the sky as falling down, Giant fans. Don't do that. Don't look at the sky as being blue and the glass being half full in the picture. You know what I mean? Because we still have a top pick and we can still maneuver that into other picks. And we need to take best player available. Are you going to tell me that Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward are best player available, honestly, if we had the #1 pick? I don't know. I think if you do that, you're drafting for need, not best player available. You get better by taking best player available, not drafting for need. A lot of times when you draft for need, it doesn't work out. We drafted for need already. We drafted Evan Neal for need already. And he might be playing guard next season. And he's another one. Oh, I don't want to play guard. Okay, well, if you want to play tackle, show us. Show us that you need to be the right tackle for this team. Show us. If not, your ass is going to guard. Kayvon. Azeez Ojulari had more sacks than you in less games. You want to get that bag? Show us. Now, I feel the same way about Brian Burns. I said it. I think Joe Schoen made a hell of a trade getting Brian Burns for a second-round pick. But I do think that $150 million is a little rich for my taste. But to get a decent to good edge rusher in this league, you're going to pay some money, bro. You're going to pay money. And he's, 26 years old? Come on. I mean, come on. You know, a lot of people want to jump on Joe Schoen's back because they're like, oh my God, he paid Daniel Jones. Oh my God. Joe Schoen, even though he likes analytics, was a revolutionary in that Daniel Jones contract. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it or not, whether you want to agree with it or not. He signed Daniel Jones to $40 million, 2 years guaranteed. And everybody sat there, oh my God, Daniel Jones making $40 million. I was going at it with pro football players. Me and them are arguing. I was like, look, you got to see the bigger picture. Okay? You got to see the bigger picture. Daniel Jones got the Giants to a playoff game on the road. They won. He said, yo, we got to pay this dude. We got to pay him. Because y'all are the same people that would have sat there and said, if he would have let Daniel Jones walk, what are you doing? We won a playoff game with him. What are you doing? Nobody could foresee that Daniel Jones was going to come back the following season with a neck injury and then come back and then tear his ACL. Nobody could see that. Come on. And when Joe Schoen signs him to $40 million, what happened? When the quarterback market settled, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, when all of the dust settled, Dak Prescott, when all the dust settled, where was Daniel Jones? Number 16 or 17, highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Average. But all y'all were throwing a hissy fit because he was making $40 million. Then y'all wanted to throw Saquon in the mix. Oh, we could have kept Saquon. Do you really think Saquon would have rushed for 2,000 yards with this giant offense? This giant offensive line. Do you really think that? Do you really think that? Because if you really think that, you have no business commenting or watching football at all. The Philadelphia Eagles are a different monster. They have an offensive line. They have a right tackle who's a future Hall of Famer. They have another left tackle who's on his way in Jordan Mailata. Cam Jurgens is a good center. I mean, they have a serious offensive line, bro, and they have size and they're mobile. The Giants aren't there yet. Okay, so we let Saquon go. I just hit Saquon on Twitter and I told him God bless him and his family. God bless him and the Philadelphia Eagle offensive line for helping him break that record. And I hope he does break the record. Even though it's against us, because I love Saquon and I love what he did as a New York Giant. He gave his heart to that New York Giant organization. He gave his all. So I want to see him break that record. I don't care that it's against us. It doesn't matter to me. So yeah, Saquon, I hope Nick Sirianni puts you in at least for the first half. If you get close to it, keep you in for the rest of the game until you break it. That's what I feel. But on the flip side, Saquon does have a history of getting little nicks and nagging injuries. He's been relatively injury-free, so you might want to give him some rest. I could see that too. But, you know, we gotta do better, Giant fans. We gotta do better as a whole, as a family, as a collective. Stop backbiting each other and hating and talking about people losing their jobs. And I just hit a young lady up on Twitter. She was like, you know, well, Brian Daboll hasn't had a good year. And I told her, I said, you know what? Neither did Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells was about to get fired when he replaced Ray Perkins. He was about to get fired now. He had the same record, if not worse. And what happened? You won 2 Super Bowls with Bill. I'm not saying you're going to win 2 Super Bowls with Brian Daboll. I don't know. But who are you going to get that's better? Because the other guys out there aren't proven. The only proven head coach is Mike Vrabel, Cliff Kingsbury, because he did have a stint with the Cardinals when he was head coach, and I think maybe Vance Joseph with Denver, and it may be Mike McCarthy. Everybody else is an OC or a DC that's going to be promoted to offensive coach. And if you're the Giants, you could bring in an offensive coordinator. I don't think the problem is Brian Daboll can't coach. I think Brian Daboll is trying to do too much because he's trying to save his job and he's trying to show, I could do this. Brian Daboll needs to take a step back, be like Mike Tomlin, get a solid staff in, and then you just coach. Manage the game. Override a play on 4th down if you need to. You just need to coach. I like Shane Bowen. This is like the most active I've seen the Giants defensive line active in a long time, getting sacks. But I mean, come on. I would love to bring in Robert Saleh as the new defensive coordinator. I would love it. And then you bring Davis Webb in. You see what Davis Webb has done as a quarterback's coach for Bo Nix in Denver. You could bring Davis Webb in, who has histories with the Giants as a backup quarterback to Eli. You could bring in Robert Saleh as your defensive coordinator. Keep Jerome Henderson as your D-back coordinator. You know what I mean? Keep Carmen Brasillo, because I think he works good with the pieces that he has, but he needs more pieces. And I think you could start something. I really do. I mean, people are talking about Joe Brady. They're talking about Ben Johnson. These guys as offensive coordinators. Brian Daboll was an offensive coordinator. He's learning to be a head coach. And you're going to go through the same thing with a new guy. Bringing him in, as a head coach, and he doesn't have no experience. Daboll's got the experience now. Let him rock. Let him rock. It can't get any worse than what it has been. So put some talent around him and see what he could do. Give him a defensive tackle that can help stop the run, so Dex ain't doing it all by himself. Give him another corner. Give him another wide receiver. I was speaking to a guy on Twitter, and he did a mock draft. I still got to do mine. I've been slacking, and I admit that. But he was like, the Giants are going to get Jaden Higgins in the 4th round. I hit him back. I was like, I don't know about that one. I said I would love it if it happened. But Jaden Higgins last into the 4th round? I don't see it. I don't see it. Savion Williams? Yeah. But the comparison with Savion Williams is Quentin Johnson with the Chargers, that he has a lot of drops. But you're talking about a guy that if he could put it together, a guy that's 6'5", 220, runs a 4.4. I mean, shit, that's like Bryce Ford Wheaton there. You know what I mean? And you still got Bryce Ford Wheaton. He's raw. You still got Jalen Hyatt. You still got to figure out what you're going to do with him. You know what I mean? So I think if you can get maybe a Savion Williams or a Kyron Lacy to go with Malik Neighbors, I think that'd be perfect. And a Jalen Noel as a slot, because Jalen Noel can run deep, and he runs routes. Wan'Dale Robinson is more of a gadget guy. And, if the defensive coverage breaks down, he can get open. But Jalen Noel is a true slot receiver. I love Xavier Restrepo, but I don't think the Giants will be able to get him because they'll have to use a second-round pick on Milroe. And I don't think Xavier Restrepo is going to be there in the third round. Just like I don't think Higgins is going to be there in the fourth. But there's options. You got Jack Beck out there from TCU. You know what I mean? There's options. There's options to put out there with Leak. And if you're going to run with Jalen Hyatt and not pay Darius Slayton, 13, 14, 15 million a year to drop passes, and be an average receiver, learn from your mistake. You pay Daniel Jones all that money to be average. Why pay that in Darius Slayton? Just get a young wide receiver that could catch. He might be slower, but at least he catches the ball. And get a developmental tight end, because I think you got something with Theo Johnson. I think you got something with Daniel Bellinger, but get a developmental tight end just in case something happens. Like an Elijah Arroyo from Miami or a Gunnar Helm from Texas. So, the Giants go in a lot of different directions, man. But, it's going to be interesting to see. So, we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'll hit y'all up after New Year's. I want everybody to have a safe, happy holiday. God bless y'all, to you, to your loved ones. I hope everybody stays safe. Like I said, have a happy holiday and bring in the new year the right way. And to all the other haters out there, y'all know what y'all could do. But to my real Giant family, my real people that are standing by me, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'm going to keep doing what I do. So, like, subscribe, comment to the channel also. And let's keep it rolling, man. Let's bring in 2025 with a fresh start and bring it in the right way. All right. And, go Giants. Let's stop the negativity. Let's stop the depression. Let's look at something positive, bro. I had one guy today. He was like, if the Giants draft Mason Graham and Jalen Milroe in their first two picks, I'm not happy with it, but I guess it is what it is. What? Mason Graham and Jalen Milroe? What are you talking about? How could that not be a win-win? You still got one of the best athletic quarterbacks in the draft, strong arm, just has to learn to be patient and play the game the right way, which is what you bring in an offensive coordinator for, which is what you bring in a quarterback coach for. Look at what Davis Webb did with Bo Nix. And then Mason Graham, come on, bro. Come on. I don't know. I guess people are just so delusional that I'm not saying delusional, but I guess people are just so convinced with the fact that we need a quarterback in the top pick. You know what I mean? That quarterback is not going to be a game changer, bro, because if you don't have no weapons around him and no line for him to block for him, he ain't going to do jack. It don't matter who you got back there. So y'all take that for what it is, because I don't think that's a bad draft at all. If you got Mason Graham, Jalen Milroe, you add a couple of picks and you walk away with them two as your first two picks, I don't think that's bad at all, because you're still going to bring in a bridge quarterback, like I said, anyway. Now, what they don't need to do is they don't need to pay Sam Darnold $20 or $30 million to come in for 2 years. No, you don't need that. Or Kirk Cousins for $30 million. No, you're bringing a guy like a Justin Fields who has similar traits to a Jalen Hyatt and get the offensive line used to that. Used to a guy that if he doesn't see it, he's going to take off and run. Get them used to playing with a guy like that. So that way you don't have ineligible men downfield like we got called for numerous times throughout the year. You know what I mean? That's what I feel you should do. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I promise I will get this mock draft to you after the new year. And we're going to do it where I'm going to be doing it live and, you know, making selections and picks and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to cheat y'all. But like I said before, happy holidays. Happy New Year to everyone. Stay safe. I love y'all. Peace. God bless. And we'll keep it rocking. All right. I'm out.